Hi, I'm reeling at the moment, just amazed at the insights that I've had setting this up and doing this video, which is going to be on poverty, lack, and abundance from a completely different, new, hopefully more enlightened and definitely more practical point of view. And just shifting my whole perspective on this and looking at it, just as I've set this up, got certain charts I'm going to show you there, had some insights into my own and my partner's chart. It's just how our understanding, how my understanding and potentially your understanding of poverty, of lack and abundance can really evolve and change, just as our understanding of where poverty, lack and abundance and all those ideas about it, both old-fashioned and alternative and new age, have really emerged from, and now where they're really going. So, you know, this is you might say a hot issue. It's been a hot issue for thousands of years. Poverty's been around, lack has been around, abundance has been around. I mean, it's undeniable we live in a world that's abundant. If you just step back at it, any astronaut or any person who looks at the Earth from a different point of view, from outside. You know, I was just watching a TV program about the satellite they sent to explore the planet Pluto, or whatever it is defined as now. And they were looking at it, and one of the comments the commentator made was that we obviously live on an incredibly abundant planet. You know, there's such an abundance of wonderful life on this planet. Now, when we're down in the day-by-day part of it, it cannot seem like that. But when you step back, the planet we live on is unbelievably abundant compared to what we see around us. Now, where did this whole thing of poverty come from? Where did it emerge? And lack. And in some ways you can say, what does it create? Which can be flipped into what created it. So lack and poverty generally creates three basic emotions. Well, two emotions and one pseudo emotion. It creates fear. You know, when you lack money, or there's a lack of resources or a lack of oxygen, you know, you get scared. Because it's not good for you. You know, it's a warning, hey, this isn't good for you. And if it lasts a while, that fear can turn into anger. And people who have been repressed or kept in poverty inevitably have to be intimidated and kept fearful, otherwise they will get angry. That's just an historical fact. And then another way we have of dealing with that is we deny the fear, we deny the anger. And when you do that, you create this pseudo emotion called guilt. And guilt doesn't have a positive upside. All real emotions do. There is one small form of guilt that does, but it's irrelevant to what we're talking about now. You know, guilt is a basic thing, is not a true emotion, because they're all true emotions, from love to hate. You know, all of them have an upside and all of them have a downside, because that's the nature of emotions. You know, they have their ups and downs. And guilt doesn't. And this is a clue as to how we got into this. Because for the last 90,000 years, or more, which is more than enough to cover our interests, you know, what's relevant to you today. We have been making decisions with our minds. Now, that is not normal in the history of Earth or in the history of humanity anywhere. It's what I've called before a very high risk strategy. And the reason is, most practically, is the mind is not fully committed to the physical world. It's not even fully involved in the physical world. You know, there are whole dimensions of the mind, from imagination and onwards, dreaming, visioning, even a lot of logic, and that is not necessarily connected to the physical world, because you can imagine and dream all sorts of things that are impossible physically, and you can come up with all sorts of logic that seems to make sense in the mind that doesn't actually work in the material world. The mind our mind, your mind, sits on it. It's a very useful place because it sits between the physical world and what we call the real world and what lies beyond it, just to keep this as simple as possible. Other dimensions, other realms, other whatever, you know, but what lies beyond the physical. And the big risk with making decisions with our mind is the mind will treat the physical world like a video game. And therefore, it'll take risks and do things that the physical body looks at and just goes, that's outrageous. You know, that's just now, occasionally that comes through with, wow, that really stretches the boundaries. And that's terrific. But a lot of the time, it disconnects us from the consequences of our decisions and disconnects us from what's really happening in the physical world. I mean, where did slavery get invented? I mean, for anyone who's connected with the physical world, how could anyone accept slavery or poverty as a natural state? I won't say lack, but poverty is a natural state. It's just like, but mentally, you know, we've obviously tolerated many of those things and a lot of other things for thousands of years. And that is a natural consequence of using our mind to make decisions. It's like asking your computer to come up with a solution to a particular relationship problem that you have, you know, or something to really I'm not talking about searching for an answer. I'm just getting your computer to run your life. You know, as much as we are in love with computers and cell phones and everything else like that, there is a certain point where we don't let them run our lives. Even for the most gung-ho person into those sort of things. So, I'm going to present a point of view that says poverty is not natural, lack exists, abundance is there, but all of them have their place when you understand how we're designed to operate in the physical world. When you look at it in terms of our body and our physical nature and our life force and our emotions and our instincts and how we use our life force, you know, to operate in this world, even our will, then you begin to, you know, in other words, you use You give your body the power and you recognize and acknowledge its power. And then you use that to make decisions. Then everything about poverty and lack and abundance changes. It's no longer a mental thing where you can split it up into the haves and the have-nots. See, that all came from when our mind looked at this world and wasn't in a position to play with it because it had to survive, but it was making decisions. So it had to deal with things like fear initially. And it had to deal with fear of survival. And then to do that, it had to get what it needed. And it was afraid that someone else would take what it needed. So that fear led to, I've got to get it rather than they get it. And it was like, that was the very beginning of creating haves and have-nots. And then the people who lost out got angry. And that created another threat to the people who had, to their survival. And so they had to reinforce that we have and you don't. And so they came up with all sorts of ideals and concepts and, you know, imaginations, but basically all sorts of concepts to justify why they had and the other person didn't. To actually intellectually and even experientially separate people from the basic feedback their body was giving, and taught people to accept their situation. Accept that we run the show and you are slaves or you live in poverty, and let's just suppress the fear and the anger and guilt trip them. Yes, guilt trip, and teach them how to feel guilty about this and guilt. And, you know, of course, there was idealism and people definitely trying to do the right thing. And so they developed systems of guilt tripping the people who were wealthy, but it still was basically just running off fear, anger, and guilt. Fear, anger, guilt, fear, anger, guilt, fear, anger, guilt, and justifying this reality and our disconnection from the obvious abundance around us. And the fact that we'd come up with all these systems that institutionalized having and having not, having power and not having power, being on top, not being on top, having resources, not having resources, to the point that whole tribes would go plundering and no one questioned it. It was the will of the gods. It was our destiny. And it became part of who we were. You know, the Vikings, who I have some ancestral connection with, but, you know, Genghis Khan, you go on, you know, Alexander the Great, everyone. But that was just the way of the world. And people grew in this framework that was not only created mentally, but sustained and conditioned into people. Now, a lot of good things came out of that, as did a lot, probably on balance, you know, a lot more when you really look at it from an individual human point of view. A lot of negativity, pain, suffering, trauma, poverty, lack, you name it, you name it, you name it. And the effects of that are still echoing right through our lives today, in our world economics and everything. And to the point that even alternative, I've been around the alternative, arena for, 40 years, 45 years. I've participated in so much of the abundance training. I have very good friends who just abundance. They preach it, they teach it, they talk. Some of them talk it non-stop. They're unrelenting. Because when you have that as a concept, when you have that as something you aspire to, as an ideal, as something you give voice to, you have to just constantly work at it. And there's nothing wrong with having a positive mindset at all. It's far better than a negative one. It's nothing wrong with having money or abundance. It's far more easy if you have it than you don't. But there's so much of it is, if you don't, feeling guilty, just built into, it's built into my system. I was brought up that way. And the New Age and a lot of the stuff there reinforced it in its own unique way. I'm not abundant and I'm so spiritual and I've done all this work and I've done all these workshops. What's wrong with me? Where am I missing it? I've often said this, a lot of the New Age is the old age in drag. Just the same stuff. And then as I dealt with my own feelings of poverty, consciousness, lack, wanting to be abundant, having it, not having it, through many years of my life, gone through both sides, not having tons of abundance like some of my friends have had, but having enough for a few years, and then coming back to keeping my head above water and all that stuff. Those feelings of guilt and inadequacy and what's wrong with me, and that have been, present, and sometimes really kept at a distance with good old positivity and stuff like that, and meditation and da-da-da-da. But then it comes to a point where your life grows and evolves and starts moving somewhere. You start getting somewhere in your life, maturing it's called, or whatever. And you realise that you can't keep keeping that at bay, like damping it down. You've got to bring it up, deal with it, and be done with it. And as part of the process of doing that, I really look closely at human design. And that's where it just opened my eyes profoundly, really profoundly. Because as I was changing and flushing out of my system, not so much flushing it out, but bringing it up, communicating with it, embracing it, seeing it, healing it, working with it, understanding it, seeing the guilt, the fear, the anger that was there, and but not wallowing in it or obsessing about it or getting, wound up about it or preaching it, but just, okay, this is coming up in my experience, in the things that have come to my life every day. And then looking at what I've learned in the 9 years that I've been working really in depth with human design, and started looking at the chart, and it was like, whoa, totally different. Totally different. And that's where I want to say that poverty is not a natural state in a world full of abundance. It's basically a sign that something we're doing is cutting us off from the abundance in the world around us. Now, again, liberal people, and of which I've been one for a long time, sort of balancing it out now, have been like, you know, it's the environment and this and it's that, and it's again the blame, the guilt tripping, you know, it's the bad people doing it to the good people, and, you know, we're going to save the planet and all this sort of stuff. But again, it's the same old outlet of anger, outlet of fear, guilt tripping, blaming, not understanding, not taking responsibility, not freeing yourself from the causes of that, and then sharing that with other people, and helping you and other people find real solutions to end this artificial poverty. Not by destroying society, because that just throws everyone into poverty. You know, that's happened before and it doesn't change anything. And the first step for me was getting out of here and making decisions out of here, out of my head, and getting in touch with and making decisions more and more with my inner authority, with my body, with the authority that lies within my body. Am I perfect at it? Am I there yet? Nah. But I've done a lot of practice and I do it a lot more than I used to, for sure, you know. And this has been part of, you know, what creates this is making decisions with our mind and not recognizing how unique we are as individuals. Because if you don't, there's a lack of variety and individuality in the world, which gives you a lack of ability to access the abundance that's made for you, that you need, that you want. You don't need everything. You know, there's a certain point where you have enough money. There's, you know, there's a certain point where you've had enough food, where you've had enough sex, where you've had enough kids, you know, right? Where you've had enough of working, you need a break. You've had enough of being massaged, you know, you need to get up and do something else, right? There are boundaries. And so it's like, how do you handle abundance? And what the hell is I mean, here's a great question. Why have we been given so much abundance? Why is this world so abundant? I mean, why is there so much energy available to us in this reality that we live in? I mean, seriously, there is. Maybe we haven't tapped into as much, but we're tapping into more and more and more and more. So does that mean we want every bit of energy? No way. There's a time when you've got enough. There's time when you've lived enough. I know people who have gone, I've had enough, I'm moving on, you know. Doesn't happen to everybody, but, you know, given a life without accidents, with, you know, that's well lived, hey, I'm done. Thank you. I mean, living forever in the same body. I mean, seriously, good luck with that, you know. So making decisions with our mind has been a great thing for developing our mind's capacities. It definitely has. It's evolved us as human beings. And it's given us a greater potential for our mind and body to work together to their mutual benefit. But it has had a lot of consequences which we could do without now, personally, globally, around the world. I mean, who needs people to starve to death unless somebody's got a concept there's too many people on the planet? I mean, it happens in North Korea. They've done that deliberately, you know. But who wants to live in North Korea? I don't. And there are people living there. So obviously people do. But is that a sustainable, ongoing, uplifting evolution of humanity? No. It's just a really intense manifestation of haves and have-nots. Fear and anger. Guilt. I mean, it's what it is. So, coming back, shifting from making decisions with your mind into being able to make decisions from the authority that is unique to you and within you, making decisions that suit the unique person that you are, that are not decisions based on what other people think or conceptual ideas that may or may not have any relevance to your true nature and what you really need. And giving the space for your mind to learn what your body needs, truly needs, which is what a lot of people are looking for. You know, what do I want? What do I truly need? How do I fulfill myself in this lifetime? You know, whole programs, seminars, books have been written all about that, all over the internet, everywhere. Really get it. That's the first step. Getting in touch with being able to make decisions, because that will end this completely unnecessary poverty. But the interesting news is it won't end lack. Or maybe a better way of saying that is limitation. Because limitation is an important part of being physical. And abundance is an important part of being physical, and both of them play a crucial role in enabling you to find the balance that is correct for you. To find how not to get stuck in lack, and at the same time find out how not to get overwhelmed or consumed or just too fat from abundance, unhealthy, sick from having more abundance than you truly need. So let's have a look. I'm going to show you something straight out of Human Design Chart, which is, I feel, really profound. And that's not going to help much unless I share screen. Okay, now that happens to be my chart. And one of the things I want to point out about that is this. Look, there is a gate down here, gate 41, right at the bottom of a person's makeup, right in the center. If you've never seen a Human Design chart before, I'll just tell you what it means and don't worry about it at the moment. Right here is where all our energy, physical energy, is described in detail and mapped, just like, you know, the wiring for an electrical system or the mechanical map of how a car is put together. You know, the blueprint for a Mercedes S-Class or whatever. Okay. And right down the bottom, at the very bottom, the most bottom line is two particular energies described by these two numbers. One is to do with joy. Hey, that's cool. Joy, physically, why are we here? To enjoy ourselves. And the second one, and particularly enjoy ourselves by caring for ourselves and caring for others. Sounds good? Okay, so over here, this particular number, this is what they call a gate in Human Design, this particular energy, or you might say it's an energy at a particular time. There are times when you need this energy. And this particular gate is called limitation. Limitation of resources leading to maximization of potential. I'll read it to you exactly as I've described it in this thing. The ability to use, it's called decrease, it's the ability to use the pressure available in times of limited resources, what we might label lack. The ability to use the pressure available in times of limited resources to maximize the development of your potential and others' potential. It is, bottom line, we are designed to use the pressure of limitation, of lack, at times when that happens, when that's appropriate, to maximize our resources. And why? Because it puts us far more in contact with our greatest potential to evolve emotionally. For our ability to truly evolve into people who are emotionally sophisticated, emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, if you're going to use the word intelligence here, capable of incredible emotional clarity rather than being driven by emotion, which is what has been going on for tens of thousands of years, often driven by fear, anger, and then managing that through various forms of guilt tripping or denial. Denial and guilt tripping, depending on which culture you were brought up in, varies. So you've got this gate here, this energy, bottom line, which is about the ability to use the physical pressure in times of limited resources to maximize the development. In other words, lack is there as an evolutionary force to help you really, I mean, seriously grow as a person. I mean, it's awesome when you understand that. Now, I have that in my chart, and it's at a particular stage. I've spent a lot of my life investigating that. I'm an investigator of how to use that pressure. Does it mean, and I want to indicate, it's in times of lack, not constant lack. But when times of lack, all of us have that potential either to do it or to allow that to come to them. I'm designed to be able to do it. When there's lack of resources, I can use that to maximize my potential and to maximize the potential of my clients, my partner, their children, my friends, you name it. Which reframe, it's like I had to throw out so much guilt, being brought up a Catholic, but guilt from the alternative world, from the New Age world, from the guilt that I just put on myself, to realize, oh my God, there are times when I create lack in my life, and I have the ability personally in my chart, not everyone does by a long shot, but there's a group of people who have the ability, maybe 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, who have the ability to turn those times, to do something with those times to maximize potential. And everyone else has the ability to allow that to occur in their life. And when it does, that it stimulates the development of their potential. And it's a bottom line physically. And when you look, I'll share the screen again, when you look at the chart, let's just pop this out of the room. When you look at the chart, it's reaching for another energy over here, gate 30, in the emotional area. This is the energy of emotion. So why does this lack draw us towards? What does it draw us towards? What sort of potential? This is, gate 30 is about the desire. It's truly about the desire. Getting clear about what you truly desire. What you really want. What will bring you emotional fulfillment. So what these two gates put in, it's reaching for what is it that will truly fulfill me. Times of limitation are actually helping you focus so that you get clear about what it is will really fulfill me. I mean, when you've got abundance, you can be distracted by any number of things. Whether people are doing that to distract you or whether you're just getting distracted because you've got more options than you know what to do with. And it can be difficult to go, what is it I truly desire? What do I really, really want? And that's huge, getting clear on that. You know, it's so important that you develop the ability to recognize that having all this freedom without responsibility is an illusion. That's what gate 30 teaches people. That having freedom without responsibility leads to tyranny. It's a delusion. Look at all the people who want to be free, and now they're tyrannizing people in the world. You've got to be free this way. This allows you, see, when you realize freedom has to be taken with responsibility for you to truly be empowered. This allows you to accept that boundaries are an important part of life. In time, limitations allow you to clearly identify your true desires. The ones that you can respond to and be responsible with, rather than just do whatever you think you desire, whatever, you know, people throw in front of you, whatever your mind gets conned into or drawn into or seduced into. What are you true at? Those times of limitation are where you find what truly turns you on. And that is the foundation of emotional clarity, the greatest thing that we're developing our ability to have at this time in history, to no longer be driven by emotion, but to come from real clarity, clarity that cannot be second-guessed, that you can't be talked out of, because you know it's right for you and you don't need to impose it on anybody else. It's so profound. But guess what? There's more. There is a gate of abundance. It's, let me show you. If I go, oh, there is a gate where there is times when having a lot of money is a cool thing. Having a lot of whatever is a cool thing. And that is gate 42 here, which happens not to be involved with our physical energy, but it's involved with our life force. Abundance is one of the bottom line energies of life. Life itself, life, the force of life, is abundant by nature. That's where abundance comes from, the force of life. You know, I'm going to show you the chart of my partner, Kratai, and she has 42. And one of the things that my friend Daryl and I agree is the one thing she doesn't have is poverty consciousness. And she certainly doesn't. She's lived, she spent all the time most of us were at school planting rice. She still doesn't have poverty consciousness. She grew up with very little money, but she just doesn't have poverty consciousness. She knows what it's like to lack money, but she doesn't have a sense. She has an inbuilt relationship to do things from an abundant point of view. And it's not a point of view in your head. It's her connection to life is she is here to do things abundantly, to respond to life in an abundant way. Now, not everyone has that gate, but those who don't, like me, can receive abundance. I can receive that sense of abundance from my partner because she has it. She does it. She has a unique relationship with abundance. But I can receive abundance. The key is to make decisions on what I take, what I accept, and what I let go, which is the thing for most of us, our biggest dilemma. And here's what my analysis of that gate came up with, or my rundown, when I looked at what other people described it and put my own. It's like increase, abundance, the ability to use life's abundant resources from life. Part of life is abundant resource to maximize the development of potential, yours and others. So there are times when we need limitation of resources and times when we need abundant resources to maximize our potential. And so it's quite built into the very nature of life for everyone to experience times of lack and times of abundance. And if it's done in a way where you make decisions that are in the best interests of your body, which are in the best interests of you, your body and your mind, by the way. Inner authority works for both, doesn't work just for the body. It's not like the body's now going to take on the mind. You know, the mind is now developed enough it can actually stand up and do what it's truly designed to do. So we're not going to lose that. But if we're going to enjoy being alive in our physical bodies and use our minds here for the benefit of ourselves and other people, then we need to make decisions from the part of us that's fully committed to being here. It's what inner authority, that's what human design, whether you like human design or not, whether you do it or not, it's what human design is about, how to enjoy being in a physical body. And we've gone long enough not doing that. Suffering. And does it mean all suffering and all bad people go? No, but it gives you the information to then build the experience of making decisions in a way you're designed to do it so that life and you are back in rapport. Your mind and your body are working together. Your heart can express itself and you can operate in this life the way life designed you, and life will be your friend, not your enemy. It'll be your provider of opportunity, whether that is taking something away so you can maximize your potential for a period of time, not forever. And not feeling guilty about that, learning to enjoy that means it flows through more easily and more quickly. And I can attest to that from experience. Not fighting it, but letting it teach you. And then abundance can be your teacher. Abundance can be your experience. And knowing how to use that and learning how to just put it together. It's like, this isn't a guilt trip. And we're at a point now where we don't have to live in fear of lack or limitation. And we don't have to buy into being angry and railing against it. We can do something about it with our own lives, is use it to maximize our potential. And just to wrap this up, I want to show you, there's so much more in this, but that's the bottom line, is drop the guilt, turn the fear into amazing success, and use the anger to motivate yourself to learn how to use freedom and responsibility together to empower you, and how to be conscious of when you've got abundance, that this is life giving you more and more, probably most definitely more than you really need. So respond to those things with the discernment that you've got about what your true desires are. And what is abundant reaching for? What is abundance, I should say, reaching for? It's reaching for this gate 53 down here. Again, my partner has this. And this whole channel is about really having a mature, balanced growth process. What is abundance used for? It's bang, it's down here, 53, back into the physical. Abundance is to be used. The abundance of life is to be used for the benefit of the physical world. Seriously? Yeah, the abundance of life is to be invested into the physical world. Yeah, I know I've had spiritual abundance beyond my wildest dreams for most of my life. After about age 26, more than I knew what to do with. And I felt the lack of that beforehand. That's a whole other story. The abundance of life is meant to be invested in the physical world. The abundance I've been given, even spiritually, even mentally, even, in other emotionally, I'm now realizing it's meant to be invested. Because abundance comes from life, and it's meant to be invested in the physical world. It's to be invested in maturing my own development and then maturing the development of others. And getting that mindset clear is such a huge, it sounds simple and obvious, but getting it into your body, getting it into you where it removes the fear and the anger and collapses the guilt that for many of us still lurks in our subconscious and even potentially our unconscious. But getting that out, it's there because of all our life and thousands of years before that. It's been the reality that we created at the time, but it's no longer necessary, even though it still exists. And the way to collapse it is collapse it within yourself and then spread it. See, gate 53, that thing that abundance is reaching for, what it's intended for is maturing through development. Gate 53, it's physical, it's in the physical center. It's the physical energy of developing things, the ability to develop a structure for progress that is steadfast and enduring, or put in New Age terms, sustainable development. It's meant for developing things that produce progress, not just sustain what's already there, but enable things to progress in a sustainable way. It's not about sustaining just what's there, because even the environment and everything is evolving. It's not just preserving it. It's developing it in a structure for progress that incorporates sustainability within the structure. Abundance is for bringing conservatives and libertarians together, for bringing idealism and practicality together, great ideas and demonstrable practical results, bringing them together. Abundance is so we develop a structure where every single one of us, as a physical human being, experiences, because it's in the channel to do with experience. It's the foundational channel of experience. That we are respected for the resource that we are, and that we create structures that enable us to develop and progress in a sustainable, enduring, respectful, healthy way. In other words, we eliminate poverty. Because we create structures that don't need it, that don't require it to operate, which is the body craves for that. The mind can tolerate have, not have, but the body needs what it needs. And the thing that just nails that down in the physical world is another gate in the root center, gate 60. Gate 60 is right here in various people's. No, not many people I know have it. No, don't have an example here, but that's where it is, down here at the bottom. Right smack in the middle. Right smack in the middle. And that gate is the gate of limitation, but limitation that leads to, well, it's called transcendence. Transcendence is leaving behind the past, pretty much as though it never existed, but drawing the consciousness and the experience of it. It is the gate. It's a physical thing right at the heart, right at the top of physical energy, that says physical energy has limits. It says physical energy needs limits. Physical energy is limited. Abundance can bring in structures that allow us to move forward and grow and develop sustainably. But to do that, we need limits, because limits set in the physical world in place the first steps, by putting in limits, it gives us the ability to move beyond limits, i.e. transcend. The whole thing that the physical world gives us the ability to do is to clearly identify our current limits. And once we've accepted that, worked with that, embraced that, it gives us the ability to move beyond them. And thus it makes the physical world, makes transcendence possible within itself and beyond itself. This is not the ideal of abundance. Oh, I've got everything, you know, I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams. Anyone who's in touch with their physical being, their physical body, realizes abundance has its limits, and so does limitation. And when they're used in the right way, both of them contribute Abundance contributes to the physical world. Lack or limitation of resources contributes to identifying what we truly desire, what we truly want while we're in the physical world, in terms of our emotional development, which is really the epitome at the moment of where we're developing, because we haven't even glimpsed how profound emotional clarity can be. And then accepting our limits enables us to deal with them, appreciate them, literally, get value out of them, add value to them, and then leave them behind and move on to new limits. So lack, so-called limitation, is such a profound gift because it sets the stage for everything else. It sets the stage for our ultimate evolution. Abundance makes it possible for us to create, with what we have, the limitations we have, systems that really help us progress in a sustainable way. And when you start, I know this has been a long tape, but when you start letting this in emotionally, when you start getting it in your life force and in your heart, when it permeates into your instincts, when it soaks into the cells of your body. You know, a friend of mine and a great teacher of mine said once, when you change your observing and measuring devices, in other words, the way you observe and measure the world, your world, you not only change what you see, but the world that you see is a different world. It's not the same. You not only see the world differently, but you see a different world. And that is, so far, my experience of truly rising out of poverty and lack and poverty consciousness. It's not a rah-rah seminar experience. It's like it's living your life and allowing life to lift you in your own unique way into an understanding of this physical world and what a gift it is. Appreciating what's possible in times of lack, and it lifts you into realizing abundance is the nature of life. And its point is to invest in creating, really invest in creating things that systems, lifestyles, you know, ways of living your life, a home, you know, whatever it is, a structure. You know, invested in developing a structure for progress that is steadfast and enduring, that is sustainable. And when your desire for abundance, you know, limitation helps you get in touch with your true desires. When you realize your true desire is to be abundant so that you can develop a structure for progress that is steadfast and enduring, that's sustainable. You want progress, but in a sustainable, healthy way. When you realize that's your true desire, and then you realize what that means in the context of your life, you know, how profound that it's not just do this according to the book and have some concept of it. The real journey of discovery is in finding out what that means in your life. Okay, acknowledging your limitations and seeing how you can use them to maximize your potential, and then identify what you truly want. And then look at where you are abundant, because everyone has it, got it at least around them. And you've certainly got an abundance of cells. And the breath isn't really limited coming in and out. You can have as much as you want. You can see as much as you want, unless you're blind. Then you probably can hear far more than the rest of us. You know, you limit your vision in order to expand and develop your potential for hearing or whatever other factor. When you understand that abundance, what does that mean to develop a structure in your life, a home, a family, a lifestyle, a business approach that is for progress? It's for transcending limitation. Progress. That's why that thing in that gate in the middle is there, gate 60. It's like, hey, accept your limitations, and then it's the first step to transcending them. But first accept them, enjoy them, appreciate them, and then move beyond, because you're satisfied or at peace or feeling you've succeeded here or delighted with what's happened, depending on your type. What does that mean? That is steadfast and enduring. And I'm lucky because my partner has that whole channel. And I see she doesn't know she doesn't understand human design much at all, because her English is very limited. And we're not at the place yet where I can bore her endlessly or inspire her with this information, depending on how, she just has it. I can see it in the way she lives, in the way she works. And we all have the ability to receive that energy when it's right and ripe for us. She works at it. She's one of the people designed to work at it. All of us are designed to receive it. And when you get onto other gates, like gate 14 and that, which is being able to gather the resources that you need, then you see something really amazing happen. Because if you're going to gather all the resources that you need, you have to open up to receiving. You can't just do it. Doing it is part of it, even if you've got that gate. You have to receive the abundance that life brings every day. And what we're now is coming out of a period in time where our choice to make decisions with our mind and all the pros and cons of that have now run their course. We've got the benefits. We can see the consequences. It has separated us from the natural abundance of life, part of which is you don't have to have it all. You can have what you want, what you truly desire, and let the rest go for other people. You can fulfill as much as you want, but you don't have to keep going and going and going endlessly, but to never be satisfied, to never be at peace. No, life gives you the opportunity to be at peace, to feel success and to really enjoy it, to feel satisfied, to be delighted. And we're coming to a point where receiving that abundance of life and then gathering the resources that we need to fulfill our vision and to bring that out into the world. It's all there in our design as human beings to do that. We're designed to. And so rather than debate about there is no poverty, there is no lack, you've got to be abundant, you know, rah, 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 rah. Hey, whew, it's all there. It's just a journey of discovering how to uncover it and how it works for you, and to appreciate everything around us, even where it appears to be lack, you know, with famine or, you know, too much rain or whatever. But we can learn out of that to develop structures for progress that can deal with those sort of things. And then those sort of things themselves. People have learned to live in deserts, learn to live in snow, learn to live in jungles, learn to live on the ocean. But the abundance of all of that and the limitations that, say, a water or a desert environment brings. So you can get, what can we truly do here? What would we love to do here? What would bring out the love? And then with the abundant sand, the abundant sun, the abundant whatever you have, how do we develop structure for progress that is steadfast and enduring? People have done that for thousands of years. Even under the burden of fear and anger and guilt. Imagine what we can do now. I mean, seriously. And as each one of us removes that, finds out how to do it. Hey, if you want some help, I've been through that. I'm going through that. I'm dealing with that every day. And I've got my genius in doing consultations for those who really want to go and make a real difference and change their lives profoundly. With a lot of personal help, there's the Master Design Program. One of my absolute favourite at the moment, actually, because I get to work with unique individuals, and every single time we work together, it's different and unique. It's always so satisfying to discover those structures for progress that, you know, just we're creating that fit each person uniquely and individually, and yet they're steadfast and enduring because they're completely aligned with each person's design. So there's those options and whatever else I'm doing at the time you see this. But there's such a fun way and such an inspiring way of releasing poverty consciousness than just pushing at it, working at it, right? You know, pumping it up in you. Look, think positively for sure. It's way, way better. But when you get into your body, into your heart and your body, and let life take you on the journey out of poverty and into the abundance of both limitation and more than you need, and start using that, it brings the joy, that bottom, the other side, how to care for yourself, how to care for others. When you're in touch with that joy, limitation, it's not a problem. Not a problem. Find that. If I can help you find that, let me know. It would be my absolute delight. It's not going to happen in a click, in a single consultation or overnight. But that's what we're here to do. It's what we're here to live. That's what we're here to embody in this world. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, and that's been helpful, inspiring, helped you put things in perspective. You know, I did a video a long time ago that's quite popular called How to Make Money While You Wait. You know, the next one should be, and this is in a sense a precursor to how to make money when you're living as your true self. How to make money by living as your true self. How to realise there's so much there for you when you live as your true self. So, talk to you again soon. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.